don't back down, this is what we're made of. Standing our ground, here it goes down. Oh, you and me, we're gonna be legendary. Oh, wait and see, we're gonna be legendary. Ain't no time like the here and now. Yeah, we showed up, now we showing up. Oh, you and me, we're gonna be legendary. Legendary. We're gonna be legendary. Raise up a white flag. Didn't come this far just to turn back. The curtains fall for the last act. Breaking that levee, breaking that levee. We don't back down, this is what we're made of. Standing our ground, here it goes down. Oh, you and me, we're gonna be legendary. Oh, wait and see, we're gonna be legendary. Ain't no time like the here and now. Yeah, we showed up, now we showing up. Oh, you and me, we're gonna be legendary. Legendary. We're gonna be legendary. We don't back down, this is what we're made of. Standing our ground, here it goes down. Oh, you and me, we're gonna be legendary. Oh, wait and see, we're gonna be legendary. Ain't no time like the here and now. Yeah, we showed up, now we showing up. Oh, you and me, we're gonna be legendary. Legendary. We're gonna be legendary. Legendary. We're gonna be legendary.
It's explosive. You can't control this, no. I got metal running through my bones, a resurrection like a ghost. Hurricane, go ahead and blow. Where you could keep your white flag, I'll never fold. A shadow on a battlefield, a survivor never yield. A thunder, go ahead and shake. Don't run from the storm when I feel the rain. There's no rest for the wicked, no victory for the weak. And when the weeds getting thicker, you'll never see me on my knees. You can't control this, it's explosive. You can't control this, it's explosive. You can't control this, it's explosive. I got a fever in my blood, a falling embers from above. I feel the heat when the pressure blows, a wildfire that you can't control. There's no rest for the wicked, no victory for the weak. And when the weeds getting thicker, you'll never see me on my knees. You can't control this, it's explosive. You can't control this, it's explosive. You can't control this, it's explosive. With every beat on my heart, I'll be the light in the dark. yourself.
We're a racing family that you can trust on and off the track. So if you're looking for foundation repair, go online or give us a call to schedule your free inspection. If we fix your foundation and you mention Race On Texas, you will get a 1-year free subscription to the All Access Pass.
Our family started RVing a few years ago, and when I think about all those campfires and fishing trips and sporting events, these are memories that are going to last a lifetime. I want to help others do the same thing. Hi, I'm Kevin Smith, General Manager at the all-new Click It RV in Milton Freewater. People in this community are very familiar with this location and the great service they've always received. So the biggest question we get is, where is Keith? The great news is, Keith is still here.
I've seen a lot of changes. I've seen a lot of things come and go. Through all the changes that we have seen, one thing that has not changed for us is the quality of our service.
Buying an RV is a big purchase, but it should be a fun and happy experience. So whether it be in sales or service or parts, our mission is simple: be the best. From our team here at Click It RV in Milton Freewater, we invite you to come down and experience the difference.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
LSRTV welcomes you to a new era in your home for sim racing, the Stars and Stripes Racing League. And tonight, round one in the Daytona 200. And this is a special event as well, as this virtual race pays homage in memory of Linda Grattan. Welcome to our broadcast coverage from the Virtual World Center of Racing at Daytona. I'm Wesley Outland. Jason Rockefeller is alongside on color analyst, and Charles Wooten is in our broadcast studio hitting the buttons to make this broadcast be as flawless as it'll be tonight here at Daytona. There's just over 1 minute left to go in practice, and there's over 40 drivers that are ready to go here in the Daytona 200. Again, this is a new era, the Stars and Stripe Racing League. Welcome aboard to all of our fans of the series that are joining us on the broadcast streams via YouTube and Facebook. Follow us all year long on Thursday nights at LSRTV. Hit that like and subscribe button. And Jason, we're ready to go, man. And what a better way to come right out of the gate than with the first big race, just like for NASCAR. For this series, it's Daytona.
Yeah, good evening, guys, and I'm really excited to see these Stars and Stripes boys put on a heck of a show here tonight at Daytona. Over 35, nearly 40 entries so far here as practice is about to wind down before we go into qualifying from the World Center Racing. Really interested to see how these Xfinity Series, or what us iRacers call in the sim racing world, the B car, performs here tonight. I'm a big believer and lover of this style of racing when it comes to the Xfinity Series car. It's good, it's hard, the runs are ginormous, and boy, oh boy, we are in for a really interesting show here tonight, Wesley.
Ready to see qualifying get ready to take place here in just a moment. Real quickly, let's take a look at the HuntTheFront.tv race information. There is one fast repair, and it is only for super speedway events like tonight at Daytona. If they get wrecked, they at least have a mulligan to have at least one reset to continue. 100% fuel capacity, 4 total sets of tires. That's the 4 sets in the pits plus the original set they have. 1 attempt at green-white checker overtime if needed. That is it. And then, of course, tonight's race is 200 miles, 80 laps the distance here at Daytona. Let's take a look at the weather conditions. It's brought to you by Kaufman Creative, and there you see the air temp on the sim at 78 degrees Fahrenheit. Partly cloudy conditions. We're seeing sun. We're seeing clouds. We're seeing sun. We're seeing clouds. That's going to happen throughout the day. This is a daytime event. Wind speed at 2 miles an hour, so it's kind of comfortable out there. And Jason, biggest thing is triple digits. We're at 100 degrees on track temp right now. I think that's going to climb as this race progresses.
Yeah, it very well could. I mean, we're going to be starting in the afternoon, so obviously cloud cover could play a big factor for these drivers out here this evening. But, you know, obviously 100-degree track temperature compared to the ambient air temp being 79, 80 degrees. That's a big difference. But something like Daytona, it's not really going to play a factor. But the reason why I think it's going to play a factor tonight, Wesley, with these Xfinity Series cars is because it's the Xfinity Series car. These cars are known in the sim world to be a lot looser than the top 3 divisions of NASCAR that are run on the sim, between the truck, the next-gen car, and obviously here with the Xfinity Series cars. So you could see these guys, with now this surface being aged a little bit since 2011 and all the rescans they've done for iRacing over the past few years with this track, is that these tires are going to wear out a little bit. Pulling out of the the lines and stuff like that and trying to get the draft, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, because when your tire starts to wear with this Florida heat beating down on this hot asphalt here today, it's going to make the car really loose. You're not going to be able to really feel that comfortability that you normally would on a fresh set of Goodyear Eagles and so forth. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that temperature does play a factor in tonight's race.
The Hooters machine, number 24, Chevrolet Camaro. Here comes Brian Lynch. Beautiful looking race car. Haven't seen a Hooters throwback on the car like that, honestly, Jason, since probably Loy Allen Jr. days, whenever he raced in the Cup Series after the passing of Alan Kawicki when he took the car in the 19. So this is the 24. And you see the headshots on some of the drivers. You see their faces on the names. Brian Lynch looked really, really quick in the practice session. Right now, we got Scott Reichert going to the top of the board. Reichert, Bowling. Tatum now goes to second. Will Buzzler move up to third. Bowling and Whitaker are right now the top 5. And we're going to see now with the man that was really fast in practice, Brian Lynch is going to do is James Howard. Jason just went to the board. I spoke too soon. Kyle McCoy now to the P1. And Lynch, ready to go.
Still 16th right now.
Yeah, I got to pick it up. You were saying, Jason.
Yeah, and you know the thing is, too, with Brian Lynch's car, obviously, you talk about it, and obviously the Hooters being on the car. Well, remember back in the day, that used to be a Hardee's machine driven by the late Cale Yarborough, and, passed away just a few weeks ago. Thoughts and prayers are always with the Yarborough family. What a legendary driver, an absolute pioneer of this sport. Won 83 races, Cup Series champion. Always awesome whenever you see a Cale Yarborough throwback, especially nowadays. So really cool to see Lynch really driving that, the heck out of that thing here tonight. Hopefully he can bring it home P1, so we'll see.
And we'll watch it right now. Let's see where Jason Gratton will end up. Gratton right now, 22nd. He's mid-pack. Gonna have to pick it up there. Gratton will in the number 42 machine. Right now, Kyle McCoy is in the number 1 spot, 50.550. Let's see now. It looks like Brian Lynch ended up being in the top 15 and 14th. Everybody qualifying now to try to put down that best lap possible. 200 miles, 80 laps here. And these Xfinity cars for the new era of the Stars and Stripes Racing League here tonight on LSRTV. Here they come, storming down to the tri-oval here. This track is 2.5 miles, and I don't think Gratton's going to be able to finish his qualifying lap. And the field is gritting here. We're about to go race time, Jason.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. It looks like Kyle McCoy is going to be on the pole with James Howard on the front row with him tonight. I'm excited, Wesley. Are you? Because we're about to go racing here from the World Center racing.
Ready to go with the Daytona 200. There you see him, Kyle McCoy on the pole. And James Howard right there alongside in row number 1. Row 2, Scott Reichert in the 05 and Ross Tatum in the 21. Row 3, Christopher Smith in the 81. Zach Kreitz will be in that 46 machine. Row 4, James Waldo in the 89. Will Buzzler in the number 1. Your top 10 ready to roll. Mark Fish in the 13 and Kyle Bowling in the 44.
Yeah, top 20, you have Thomas Ogle there in the number 11 and Elias Thomas in the number 80 in row number 6. Row number 7, Mike Lynch, Brian Lynch in the number 24, the Lynches inside and outside. Row number 8, Dylan Hoffman in the 15, Greg Hammond on the outside in the number 66 machine. Row number 9 goes to Joshua Altice in the 94 and Tom Wizza in the 51 machine. And Wesley rounding out your top 20. Row number 10, Joshua Robertson and Josh Whittaker in the 28.
Row 11, Tammy McNally in the 88. Nate Lynch will be in the 25. Row 12, Christian Lotion in the number 3. Andrew Hess in the 54. Jason Grayton in the 42 and Trey Jackson in the 5, row 13. Row 14 will find Mitch Smith and Brian Chu from Nazareth. The 92 and 18 in your top 30. Aaron Hell and Robert Sherwood, the 4 and 22. That's your top 30.
Yeah, all the way back down to 39th, you have Paul Thomas and Diego Valle in the 68 machine rather there in row 16. Row 17, Matthew McMeekin and Derek Offerman in the number 20 machine. Row number 18 goes to Ryan Lynch, William Duff in the 17 machine. Next row, row 19, Mark Schrader, Victor Classe in the number 27 machine. And rounding out your field in row number 20 in the 39th spot, Zachary Smith in the 91.
39 drivers ready to roll off pit road. And the virtual thundering herd will get ready to get one preliminary lap behind the toe of the iRacing safety car. It'll drop onto the pit lane and we will be ready to go with racing here. By the way, this racetrack is 2.5 miles long, 31 degrees of banking down into turn number 1 and 2, the same into turn number 3 and 4. That back straightaway measures out to almost 3,000 foot. It is wide enough to go 4 and 5 wide if you're brave enough. And I think we'll see that at some time in the point of the race. Not early, though. Best thing to do is to get tucked in line. 31 degrees of banking down that front straight, down the back stretch. Once they hit the back stretch and super stretch into turn number 3 and 4, another 31 degrees of banking before they fan back out to the tri-oval, which measures 3,400 feet. And right now, Jason, the calm before the storm as we get ready to unleash them here at Daytona in a new era with the Stars and Stripes Racing League tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really fun as they have half a lap to go as they head down the super stretch here at Daytona into 3. And a couple things to note, too, about tonight's race. So they're not allowed to go 3 wide until they hit the back straightaway. And that's just for, obviously, safety purposes with these guys and making sure they can get that rhythm. 3 bonus points to people who have no incident points tallied up in the session tonight. That could be huge. Fixed setup rather. Regular season champion this year gets 10 bonus points towards the playoffs. 1 bonus point for leading the most laps. And obviously any lap led, the pole sitter, and first through third place finishers get 1 to 3 playoff points.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get it started. Round 1, Daytona, 200 miles, and it's time to feel the roar at the virtual World Center of Racing as we go to green. Storming down to the line, give lap number 1 to Scott Reichert. But for how long? McCoy and Tatum are right there in tow, and they all begin to climb the banking there. Jason into turn number 1. Looks like Howard to the 29 wants to get something started on the outside early into 2.
Yeah, he got put 3 wide. I don't know if he pulled out a line or if somebody kind of just shoved him out there heading into turn number 3 when we decided to field a roar there on that opening lap. But he was able to maintain himself, got back in line. He's 5th in line now, up on the top, right behind Will Bussler, and also the 44 of Kyle Bowling right there in the Pepsi colors as they come off 3 and 4. This time, Kyle McCoy, Scott Rickard, they're still going at it for the race lead here, coming off 4.
So McCoy now in the spot, but not for long. Scott Rickard will battle back. There's an inside lane from the back view of Bussler's car. The Pepsi Bowling car to the outside. The Hooters car down to the bottom of Lynch and to his inside. Looks like Chris Smith is giving him a fit along. All this happening now with Zach Kreitz now as they work it at 2.
Yeah, back to turn number 2. Remember, Wesley, this is a very long race for 80 laps around Daytona, and it feels like an eternity as a driver in these virtual sim racing cockpits because you got to really just play the waiting game. Compared to Talladega, and I know we've been talking about it over these past few weeks because we covered the FEG PC Custom Series on Wednesday nights. It just came to a close last night, obviously, and they've been running Daytona, Talladega, Daytona, Talladega, back and forth, and you really got to be patient. Compared to Talladega, you can go 3 wide, 4 wide. Here at Daytona, it's really tight. You don't really want to be the guy early on in this race to put your nose out through the middle, to the top, to the bottom when there's already 2 lanes being formed. You don't want to be that guy that could possibly cause a wreck this early on into the race. So it's really all about patience and the waiting game here this early on in the race.
Down that 3,000-foot back stretch known as the Super Stretch here at the World Center of Racing, up the banking. Joshua Altus now, you're on board with him. That's a driver that we followed over the years since probably 2020 with the S&P Cup Series that used to be on LSRTV, the Virginia native. Right now, trying to make the run on that 29 machine. All this happening alongside with other drivers coming back to the corner with Lynch, Howard, Fish, all this right there in front of them as they work to make it into 1.
Yeah, back to 1, you're seeing some movement here up towards the front. This outside lane's got a lot of momentum, and this is the thing about Daytona that we talked about prior, that these outside runs, whether it be the trucks, the Xfinity cars, the new Cup cars, because let's face it, we don't have to call them next gens anymore. We're going on our 3rd year with them. So with, you know, those cars, obviously, the outside here at Daytona is just a lot more dominant if you can get the help. I mean, they're kind of spread out right there. You see James Howard and obviously others behind him trying to close back to the back bumper of Kyle Bowling, but as they ride back down the front straightaway to the start-finish line, it's a complete lap number 5. They're starting to get formulated. You're going to see these runs from that outside lane really start coming off turn number 2, off turn number 4, and you can get a little bit of one coming out of the tri-oval, but you have to have the help back behind you.
Yeah, no doubt about that as they work their way again down that long back stretch here at Daytona. There's Reichard's car giving a nice trunk pull to Kyle McCoy. Tatum upon the outside in that Sprite 21 machine. I love that camera angle as we try to stick it 3 wide behind the top 2. That didn't last for long as they fan back out 2 by 2 by 2 behind the leader. Here comes Kyle McCoy to the lead, but not for long. Reichard and the Tires Pro entry right there in tow. So is Tatum. Make a move to the bottom. Reichard down, falls back to 3rd. Here comes now McCoy bringing him off the corner out of 2.
Yeah, noticing Wesley right here, this bottom lane looks to be a lot more organized. That's something you don't want to do right there with the 05 of Scott Rickard just did. Coming off turn number 2, he just barely touched that apron. And I tell you what, Wesley, we talked about the track temperature conditions being about 20 degrees hotter than the ambient air temperature, being around 100 degrees right now. As those tires progressively wear out here in this first stint, if you touch that apron just a little, and you see him right there get loose off turn number 4 and was able to save it, man, you got to be careful. Do not touch that apron. Don't jerk the wheel because you will go around here with the way that these cars are aerodynamically dependent on these super speedways for sure.
On board with Scott Rickard. Scott Rickard in the number 3 spot right now. He's got Chris Smith in
Oh, we got a wreck!
We got trouble on the back straightaway. A couple of cars spinning down below the bottom of the apron, and there's cars involved. Boy, we got to wait till this all sorts out. It looked like I saw the Miller color involved, and the 51 caught up in it. That's Tom Wizza. Brian Chu is off track. Victor Glassy's off track. And we go under the yellow flag here on lap number 8 here at Daytona, Jason. Here's a look at the replay of what happened.
Yeah, I noticed right there, Wesley, while you were giving the call down the back straightaway, saw some cars get out of shape. I noticed this car right here, the 51 machine, I believe it was there, just get shot out of line. Oh, no, what happened? Oh, so it started up in front right there. That's the number 13 machine. That would be, I believe, possibly, if I can get it up on the scoring pylon, not too sure. Maybe it was Ryan Lynch in the 31 machine, actually, but right there, or it was the 13. Just got turned way out of line all of a sudden, created a massive stack up. You saw the 4 machine there of Aaron Hale. Really great check the field coming down the back straightaway. Got on the binders, heads up by him, but obviously everybody else behind him, you just can't see anything. You don't know where these guys are going to be going. You can't really see that much out front of you, and it looks like the 2 car just decided to come down a little bit, maybe a side draft, got into the 13, and then just calamity happened right back behind them.
So there's a look at what had just happened to put us under the yellow flag on the back straightaway here, the Daytona 200. This time about to be lap number 9. And pit road is open if there are any takers. I do see somebody in the back of the top 20 or so. Mike Lynch and Nate Lynch is going to commit to come down to the pit lane. Maybe some others in the back of the top 20, or the top 15. But other than that, your front runners are right now staying right in tow where they're at. So we will step away. Let's take a quick commercial break as we're under caution in the early going. The Daytona 200 and the Stars and Stripes Racing League returns on iRacing on LSRTV in just a moment.
Community Radio Network, WCRN 87.9 FM, Clayton, Garner, Raleigh, North Carolina, USA. We are CRN.
Welcome back to Daytona. There are sponsors that make it happen for the Stars and Stripes Racing League. And the Daytona 200 for Linda Grayton in memory is presented by Butt Kicker. Next Level Racing. On the Throttle Podcast. Check it out at all of your podcast outlets and platforms. And by Verizon. Thanks to all of them partners that make it happen. I have a Verizon service on my phone. I'm happy. There you go, shameless plug, pardon the pun there. Jason, how was Florida, man? I know you just come back from the Sunshine State.
Yeah, I tell you what, man, I wish I was back at 75, 80 degree weather right now, because this weather up here is pretty dang cold, I tell you that much. I'm just praying again for another year of no snow, but I hope it doesn't snow this year. I know Charles, though, he was telling me earlier before the race started that they were about, what did you say, Charles, like 90 degrees there today? You're going to get like 20 degree weather tomorrow?
So
crazy,
yes,
Charles.
behind the
Wow.
scenes normally, but I'll come out. Yes, it was 75 degrees today. Tomorrow it's supposed to be around 20, and we have a chance of snow on Saturday. So if you really like bipolar weather, come on to Texas because it changes daily.
It sounds like it. Sounds like us tomorrow as well. Hey, tomorrow we've got clouds and then chances of thunderstorm, high winds. Thunderstorms during the evening, then a cold front moves in. And we go from a high of 45 to a low of 18 in North Carolina. That's how people get sick. All right, and there's a chance of snow also. We go from thunderstorms to snow. All right, let's try to settle them up here for a restart, shall we? We're 10 laps in of 80. There's massive cloud cover for the first time hovering over the virtual Daytona. And we'll get ready to try to bring this one back to the green. There's your race summary. It's presented by Virginia811.com, reminding you to dig with care. 1 caution so far, 3 laps in total. There's been 2 lead changes. We'll monitor that throughout the night. Ready to come back to the Geico Restart Zone of the virtual thundering herd of the Stars and Stripes Racing League. Back under green, Ross Tatum in the Sprite car. Number 21 will be the man to lead. McCoy, Buzzler, Reichert, Bowling, top 5 up the banking 2x2. Conga line style into turn number 1.
Good restart by this bottom lane right here. The outside lane didn't really get the help that they probably wanted. You see up on the outside, that Tire Pros machine, the 05, Scott Rickard really gave a good push to Kyle McCoy down the back straightaway. Thought they were going to get stacked up with Chris Smith for just a second with the high rate of speed he was closing in on the bumper of the 05. Now McCoy's going to jump down, try to lead that bottom lane, and that's really all it is, Wesley. If you're that leader, you can choose which lane you want to control. Do you want to go to the bottom? Do you want to go to the top? But obviously, if you want to control a certain lane, make sure you make your move at the right time and don't cause an incident.
Back to 1. McCoy protecting that spot for the Iowa State team. Tire Pros number 05 on the outside. There you see Tatum and Smith, Buzzler top 5. And quickly they start getting back 2x2. And they're going to do-si-do down the super stretch. Everyone in a tandem holding their line. Aerial coverage up top side. Presented by LSRTV. Your home for sim racing for tonight's race. And look at those awesome views from up top as now McCoy works off 4. He's got Tatum and Reichert now, door to door. It's Smith and Buzzler right there watching. How about that 46 of Kreitz car? Jason, quick trivia, my friend. What throwback car driver is that?
If I had to be correct, that was Jeff Gordon's number 1 Baby Ruth car.
That is correct. Yes, it was. When he drove for, of course, Bill Davis Racing back in the day. And the number 1 machine, Jeff Gordon in the number 1 Baby Ruth car. There's a look at the 46. What a throwback that was. And what a special car that it was for me, Jason, because I remember as a kid growing up, back in the early 90s when my dad took me to Orange County Speedway and the NASCAR Busch Series used to race there for special Saturday night events on the schedule. Jeff Gordon won at Orange County in that Baby Ruth number 1.
Yeah, it's always so cool to see all the different paint schemes we have here today. And even here's another fun fact for you, Wesley. And remember, too, that Jeff Gordon's original car number in the Cup Series was going to be the 46, but because
That's right.
of Paramount Pictures with Days of Thunder production, they had the rights to that number. So they had to ask Mr. Rick Hendrick and them to change that number, and they went with 24. So imagine that, folks. Jeff Gordon could have been the driver known for driving that 46 machine, but due to that copyright, due to them owning that number over at Paramount, they drove the 24 car.
That's exactly right. For the longest time, the 46, the 51, and the 18 were in the movie Days of Thunder. But here's the story. The 18, of course, was with Dale Jarrett and Joe Gibbs Racing at the time, obviously, Jason. Paramount paid Gibbs to use the 18 on the Hardee's car. Hendrick and them wanted the number, but they couldn't get it at the time. So there you go. And right now, Kyle McCoy is the man leading the way in that number 7 machine. Scott Reichard, Ross Tatum, Chris Smith, and Will Busler, top 5. Zach Kreitz in that Baby Ruth car we forementioned. Kyle Bowling, Brian Lynch in the Hooters colors is up to 8. James Howard and Josh Robinson 9th and 10th. Here they come back to the line, working lap 16 now of 80.
It's looking like Days of Thunder out here right now, minus obviously not having those restrictor plates back in the day. These things, they have those restrictor plates on these cars today. But some great racing going on, 2x2. No lane really dominant so far. Noticing that this inside lane will pull out for a little bit. Then the outside lane will kind of get the surge of momentum. Obviously, Scott Rickard in that number 05 machine with that Josh Berry Junior Motorsports Tire Pros machine. He's leading up that top lane. The 81 Sunoco car right behind him, that's Chris Smith. And then the Baby Ruth car, Zach Kreitz right behind him. All Chevrolets all the way until you get back to 19th, minus the 1 Toyota of Will Busler in 4th right now. So, Wesley, this is a predominantly Chevy-dominated race so far here for just 18 laps in.
For the first time, there is massive cloud cover hovering above the entire 2.5 mile. And I want to bring back up the Kaufman Creative weather conditions on the bottom right of the monitor there. And I want to see what the changes have been now. And look at that, Jason. Look at how much it's changed in the opening 50 miles of this race. Look at that.
Yeah, and you know something too. I mean, the air temperature is going down just slightly, but that track temperature going down that 8 degrees. I know it might not seem like that for a lot of people, but when you're a driver in the sim, when you have that cloud cover, everything changes. Your depth perception changes. The way you drive the car changes. The way that you make moves changes, etc. There's so many factors that go into weather when it comes to auto racing, especially stock cars, for sure, no doubt about it. And with cloud cover like this, these guys are probably able, with this track temperature cooling down for the time being, I'm sure it'll jump up again at some point once the cloud cover opens back up and that sun will be beating down the racetrack. They're able to really make their moves, wiser, really, not make so many aggressive moves, but they can be a little bit more aggressive if necessary. But we've seen so far, just in those first few laps. Oh, we got a caution on the racetrack. Looks like we got a wreck coming in the 3. Oh, massive wreck.
Oh, my. Big trouble. The 25, the 92, the 41, the 27 involved. This is Trey Jackson, James Howard. Nate Lynch got collected in it. Mitch Smith started it all. Matthew McMeekin, and here's a look at a replay as we were approaching 50 miles in this race of the Daytona 200. Why we're under caution for the second time, and it happened up in front, and it's Lynch in the wall. The 25, the 88. Oh, he got one airborne. Lynch got in the air. Oh, man.
My goodness. That was, and you know something too, Wesley, that was just a bunch of guys really not being able to slow up enough in time. I mean, it all started in front of them, but they just were not getting on the brakes close enough. We're going to take one more look at it right here. And it really all started right in the middle of this pack. And it just goes to show you too, Wesley, and me and you both know this, there is no safe place in Daytona. The safe place used to be being at the back of the field. Not anymore with the way that the super speedway racing is. Oh my gosh, you just can't. There's nowhere to go. And right here, this 24 gets sent up into the fence. Up and over.
I want to go on board with a 24 from Lynch. Let's go extended. And for those that are fans of the Stars and Stripes Racing League, if you're new to iRacing, multiple camera angles of the accidents that happen. And if you're squirmish or wheezy, being on board for Big Air, turn away for just a moment. As you're on board now with Brian Lynch, this is the Hooters colors. And Hooters does not have wings. Well, they do, but they get fried. Watch this. No!
Oh my gosh.
Chili Bowl has a flip count. We have a flip count of the Stars and Stripes Racing League at Daytona, Jason. Right now, that's one.
Yeah, just one so far, and I can only imagine that counter is definitely going to go up here as this race goes on. And the thing is, too, Wesley, we're already a quarter of the way through this race, and for a race where you got to have patience, it's going to go by quicker than you think. It's going to be so interesting to see how this race progresses. We've already seen a lot of cars, in the pits, have some incidents. I mean, we've already seen 2 cautions so far in this first, quarter of this race. And we're seeing guys kind of mix it up at the front. We're seeing the back half of the field mix it up at the front. There's a lot of factors going on here, and there's still a lot more racing to go.
What I can tell you is now everybody is back in sequence with pitting. Hoffman, Wisdom, McNally, Lawson, Sherwood, Classy, and Valley all on pit road right now. And this is Nate Lynch in the 25 Budweiser car. Obviously, you saw what happened in the Hooters number 24, Brian Lynch. He right now is the leader. Beautiful looking car, Jason. I like that car. I like the color.
Yeah, I do too. It really looks good. It kind of reminds me of like a Budweiser Zero alcohol car, kind of, except if it was, instead of the white packaging, they made it black. Or better yet, if you think back, remember, Wesley, back in the 2011 Coca-Cola 600, the closer, Happy Kevin Harvick, went to victory lane in a paint scheme very similar to that. A little bit more gray, no red on the car, but man, that car looks eerily similar to it.
Lights off for the pace car. 1 to go indication. By the way, as Jason mentioned, we are 50 miles into this race right now. And as the field gets ready to go back for the restart, let's give you the rundown. I'll give you the top 20 as they get ready to go back to green. Nate Lynch is the leader. Joshua Altus on the front row is second. Chris Smith third. James Howard fourth. Kyle McCoy your top 5. Scott Reichert, Ross Tatum, Will Buzzler, Zach Kreitz, and Kyle Bowling right now the top 10. Ellis Thomas is 11th. Josh Whitaker is 12th. Jason Gratton is in 13th. Greg Hammond 14th. Zachary Smith 15th. And it's James Waldo, Mitch Smith, Trey Jackson, as well as Mark Fish and Mike Lynch. Jason, your top 20 here, 50 miles in.
Yeah, a lot of this field so far has gotten mixed up so far, Wesley, just because of those 2 incidents that we have, especially that second wreck really didn't take out a lot of guys. Remember, these guys are allowed that one fast repair. So if you're involved in one of these wrecks that's happened or that will happen, because let's face it, folks, we all know what's going to be coming here by the end of this race. We're going to have more than just 2 yellows here tonight. You have to use that one fast repair wisely. For folks that don't know what that means, the fast repair, obviously, with these guys being allowed one, if your car is destroyed or whatnot, has damage, and you don't feel like you could sit in the pits long enough to get it fully repaired, you could check that box off, use that one fast repair, and you will basically instantly be given a new car. In a sense, it will eliminate all damage, all engine damage, whatever it may be to your car. So if you're going to use that fast repair, boy, you better be really careful, because you're going to be basically skating on thin ice here for the rest of this race if you use it.
Ready for a restart. This is our 3rd restart here after our 2nd caution. And we're back inside the Geico restart zone, 60 miles into it, back underway here at Daytona. In the Daytona 200, and on the jump, Mike Lynch. He's going to have to climb, so is also the 24 of Brian Lynch, but now another name of Nate Lynch is your top dog, leading them. Virginia's Altus and Smith right now working back the green out of 2.
Yeah, back down the Daytona super stretch, heading for turn number 3. Inside lanes organized just a little bit more. The top side's got about 5 or 6 cars trailing until you get to about the second half of this main pack, and you're starting to see them kind of get bunched up now. Everybody utilizing that draft. Coming off turn number 4, dead heat off the corner between Joshua Altis and Nate Lynch as they head back to the line. Looks like Altis is going to lead them by about a car length with help from James Howard in the Verizon machine back behind him to 1.
And now Altis will be the new leader. Altis now from the outside to the inside. He's the man in the top spot in that Chevrolet number 94. Nate Lynch now pushed to second. Here comes down, starting to get discombobulated. and they're going to start to get 3 and 4 wide unorganized. Will they, though? Somehow they still stay 2 by 2 by 2 as the outside lane, Jason, starts to pick up speed. Howard down to the lead on the outside. James Howard to the top spot, and they got Anson behind them, and they save it off 4.
Yeah, Nate Lynch, I think, hit that apron heading into turn number 3. Wesley got really, as you said, discombobulated coming into the corner, created a stack up, and you could just see just the dysfunction on that bottom lane. Lots of guys decided to jump up to the top side, and you just see them coming through turns 1 and 2 now. Everybody on that bottom side, there's really a separation from the 25 all the way back to the 44 as they come back off turn number 2. But the inside lane gets back going together, and look at this. Here comes the 29. Howard goes from the bottom behind Rickard. They'll jump up to the top side with Tatum, heading back to turn number 3. Big push as they head to the center of the corner.
Tatum with a shot behind Howard as they work up to the outside lane. Reichert will stay protected in the bottom of the Tire Pro Chevrolet. Here comes Altus and a couple of Camaros on the bottom. Meanwhile, Kreitz can't decide whether to go top or bottom. He'll go to the outside lane. He'll form the group now with 5 cars to the outside as they work on lap 25 into turn number 1.
Scott Rickard has been the man basically pushing everybody to the lead so far here in these first 25 completed laps so far. Now finds himself out front. So how comfortable is he getting help from Joshua Altice right behind him? Also the 25. Nate Lynch has to be careful. Don't push the pusher because that's how you could very well start a wreck here.
And right now, another driver trying to be patient is Altus as well as Tatum right in front of those leaders in front of them of Reichert and Howard. Now they come off of turn number 4. 3 wide for just a moment. Kreitz got shoved out of line by the Sitco car behind him of Whitaker. Somehow they hold it together as they work back across the stripe. It's now on board with Ross Tatum. There's Kreitz. There's that Sitco car. There's the machine we mentioned now. 3 wide as here comes the 7 of McCoy to the outside off 2.
Yeah, the 7 machine trying to make something work right back behind the leaders back here. That's Kyle McCoy, and he's the only one up at the top of this racetrack. Remember, you can make 3 wide happen, but you have to be so careful, especially a driver being up on the top side because you are running on thin ice up there. You can get into the wall. You can sideswipe somebody in the middle lane, create a massive multi-car pileup. Oh, and the 81 out of line.
The 1, Bussler, pushed on a line, stays to the apron, Jason. No caution, and we will stay racing into turn number 1.
Oh, my gosh. I thought he was going to absolutely plow the inside wall, and I do see a little bit of damage to that quarter panel. Charles, let's see if we can get a replay here, because I tell you what, he might have just pulled one of the greatest saves here at Daytona. You don't normally do this. Here's the replay, and it all started because Wesley, like we talked about, the track temperatures, obviously these cars not feeling so comfortable being on the edge of control. You're going to see the 81 here. He's going to try to jump up to the top, kind of aggressive. Aerodynamics really plays a factor. Look at this one, heading to the inside. Oh, he pops it pretty good. Rear bumper cover is off. That's definitely going to be something that he's going to want if he's going to want to get pushed here later in this race. So if you're the one, what do? Do you stay out, or not stay out rather, but when you have to pit, do you take that fast repair? Do you decide to just try to take all the damage repair in the pits that you can? That's going to be a strategy that number 1 is going to have to play for the remainder of this race.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Have to continue to follow all this now as we're approaching 75 miles in this race. Closing in on halfway. Remember, lap 40 will be the cross flags. Here comes an airliner coming in. Remember Daytona International Speedway, the airport, the famous Daytona International Airport adjacent to the backstretch at the World Center of Racing. And iRacing mimics the simulation to make it just like it's real. And there's some of the graphics as right now. Here they come to the line, the Verizon car. That's James Howard now, down to the inside. Reichert will follow, Tatum on the outside. By the way, I said Sitco colors of the number 28 machine of Josh Whitaker. That is the Amoco colors of that car, as right now he starts to get in line for 3rd. And back into it again, Altus and Kreitz off 2.
Think of the Amoco colors, you obviously think about Dave Blaney in the late 90s driving the 93 Amoco car, and that was always a beautiful race car back then. Obviously, Dave Blaney. Oh, we got a wreck back into 3. 1 car hard up into the wall. It's a blue one. heading into turn number 3. It's going to start another massive multi-car pileup, possibly.
Oh, man.
We're under caution again.
That's the 15 machine, and the 42 also collected. When we go under the yellow flag here, Dylan Hoffman and Jason Cratton and maybe some other cars also caught up in it. This is the number 15 Haviland colors. Hoffman's car. Dylan Hoffman to put us under the third caution. Oh, man, it happened up in front of him, and then he was a victim of circumstance when he got tagged by the 91. He turned him. That's the 91 of Zachary Smith, and then a couple of other drivers up ahead got it all started from up on the outside lane, Jason. What a heartbreak. You're on board now with Dylan Hoffman one more time.
Yeah, and it really sucks for Dylan Hoffman, obviously, because he was just avoiding an incident. He was going to get through that, and so was the 91. But obviously, your first instinct as a driver is not to think about the ones around you, but to get yourself through it. And obviously, the 91 machine right there just came right down into him. You're going to see it right here. Zachary Smith, they try to avoid the wreck. Dylan was going to be fine, and then, Zach just had to try to avoid it, came right down, just didn't know the 15 was there, and just like that, the 15's day going to be done probably, unless he still has that one fast repair.
That was the 66 of Greg Hammond and the 4 of Aaron Hale. Fast repair is given. Drivers will continue. 9 laps away from the halfway mark here in the Daytona 200. In homage and memory of Linda Gratton, welcome to our coverage. And the new era for the Stars and Stripes Racing League. And obviously we've already had everybody pit. At least the top 15 did not pit. Everyone else on back did. James Howard, Jason, is now the new leader in that Verizon 5G Chevrolet. By the way, quick statistic, top 10, all Chevrolets, Jason, in the top 10 right now, all Chevrolet Camaros.
Yeah, and this field is really dominated by a bunch of Chevys. You have a few Toyota Supras scattered out through there, and then a few Ford Mustangs, but this race, like we talked about earlier, Wesley, remember, there was a time where there were only 18 cars, all in the top 20, that were Chevrolets. There was only one Ford and then one Toyota up there at the front of this field. So really the Chevrolets, they're really all best friends. You think about manufacturers, if you're a Chevrolet, you know what you're dealing with. And the Toyotas, they have kind of a curved front bumper. I would say that the Fords are probably the best ones to push you, just because obviously with the Fords, they have that flatter front bumper. The Chevys kind of narrowed their front bumper just a little bit with the Xfinity cars and the Cup cars to create them to be better pushers and obviously an aerodynamic advantage, so they didn't have that nose pointing in the wind. But you have the Supras, which have a very awkward front bumper. You don't really want to get pushed by them too much, but obviously all these cars here, they kind of really look the same, from a far distance. And, you think back to, remember, Wesley, the COT era, or the car tomorrow, when they had the wings and the braced splitters on the front, where every car was a spec car, and all that was different was just the logos, the decals, and the engine, and obviously the way you built the thing. And these cars are kind of almost nearly the exact same, besides the body styles, so they can really all push the same with the back bumpers. But if you're going to get pushed by somebody with that front bumper, man, you might have a little bit of a difficult time.
So the lights will go off on the pace car. And the field will now get ready to get back 2 by 2 again. Howard and Reichard right now. Rickard on the front row. Tatum, Kreitz, row 2. Josh and Josh, that's Altus and Whitaker, row 3. Lynch and Smith. Bowling, and McCoy. And by the way, we are approaching the halfway mark. Let's take a little quick at the race summary so far as we approach halfway. There it is. Wrapping up yellow flag number 3 here at Daytona. 8 caution laps in total of the 32 ran, and 12 lead changes, and I don't think we're done with that. That's brought to you by Virginia811.com, reminding you to dig with care. Thanks to our buddy Brian Morehouse and the folks with 811.com. Jason, we're approaching halfway here. What's your take of the first 33 laps to this event, obviously? And I have to say this. I'm not saying that I'm not surprised that we've had cautions, but definitely I think we need to have a long green flag run of the race to try to get to the home stretch of this run. And I'd be surprised if we don't possibly start to set ourselves up, if we can, for a long green flag run, but also green flag pit stops here.
Yeah, very well a possibility here. If they probably had to pit again, they'd probably have to pit around lap 70 or so, probably lap 65 to 70. But we'll see here. It's Daytona. There's always controversy and trouble looming around every single corner of this place. We're just going to have to find out here. Come to the green on lap 34.
And the Geico restart zone, the field comes back up to speed. Howard on the inside. Great jump, hold shot on everyone, but not for long. Here comes Ross Tatum. He'll battle along with Rickard. Rickard now. He's got now also Kreitz to deal with. The Candy Man is on the outside. He's looking up also with Whitaker in the...
Yeah, back off turn number 2. You see that number 46 of Zach Kreitz trying to give that push to Scott Rickard down this back straightaway. Here comes the Amico car, the 28 Whittaker, trying to give them a push as well back into turn number 3. Rickard will jump down to the bottom, picks up the 29 of Howard and also the 21 of Tatum. Back off turn number 4. Whoa, you don't want to push in the middle of the corner. Be careful there, Mr. Howard. Nearly sent the 05 around off 4.
Got to be patient there. And a nice save there for everyone to check up, and James Howard quickly able to release. Tatum and Howard now close in on Rickard. Rickard on the bottom. Here comes now Kreitz on the outside. Whitaker will follow. All this goes on with Chris Smith for the Sunoco colors. And Kyle McCoy, who led early. He's back up in the dance on the outside as they hit the super stretch.
Still 2 by 2 right now. Very calm and tame up in the front of this field. These guys are kind of jockeying for positions, swapping lead back and forth. Oh, whoa, the 29 hit the apron right there heading into turn number 3. Nearly took Scott Rickard with them, but they were able to maintain their spots, continue to push forward back to the race lead. But you got to be careful with that. This front of this field so far here tonight, Wesley's are hitting lap 36.
Miles is the distance left when they come to the cross flags. And they'll have 100 miles completed, but there's still 4 more laps left to go to reach that. As now Kreitz now battles alongside with Whitaker on the outside here at Daytona for the lead. Whitaker to the top spot out of 2. He's got Smith as a wingman.
Whitaker is going to just jump up to the outside right here. Has that push from Chris Smith back behind him as they hit the super stretch. Here comes the 7 of Kyle McCoy. Remember, he tried to get out of line with that 81 machine, caused one of our incidents earlier on with that number 1 of Will Bustler that sent the 81 careening into him, causing the 1 to hit the inside wall. They're back up at the front now, and Will Bustler is in the middle of this pack back in 19th. That bottom lane starting to surge ahead just a little bit more, and I'm noticing something too, Wesley. I mentioned it earlier. Scott Rickard has really been probably the best pusher I have seen all night long. He's been able to push cars all the way out to the front of the packs, all the way to the lead. Oh, no! Save it! Oh,
hold on.
It's going to be a big one.
Hold on, Whitaker.
Oh,
what a
my
save.
gosh.
Are you serious? Wow. What a job by the 46 of Kreitz. I thought Whitaker and Chris and others were going to get crashed, Jason. My, oh, my.
That could have been really, really bad. That could have taken out pretty much the entire field had that 46 overcorrected. And look at this, just because of that one bobble, look at how much it separated this pack. There is now 2 separate packs. The outside lane stacked up. This bottom lane is starting to get really unformed here. Here comes the 05 trying to figure out where for a lane to go with. 29 jumps up to the top side now, gonna try to get the help from Whittaker off turn number 2 as the 05 of Rickard trying to figure out if he wants to jump to the top. Will he stay to the bottom? Doesn't have enough room to jump up top. Here comes Howard. He's got the push now from Whittaker back down the super stretch.
And McCoy on the bottom. And now Howard back up top. Whittaker will follow. You've got Rickard on the inside. He's on the bottom right there behind your leader McCoy. So is Smith. And now Waldo and Ogle, Chu, Tatum, Altus, your top 10. We are 1 lap away to halfway, another 2.5 miles, and we are 100 miles into the Daytona 200 in memory of Linda Grattan as they work it at turn number 1. Jason, who's going to be the man in the cross flag?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see right here because these 2 lanes are really even right now. It only took 1 lap for these guys to get all back in line together. I really like this 05 of Scott Rickard on this bottom side, pushing the 7 of Kyle McCoy. He's methodically made his way back up through this field. He was right in the middle of his pack. Now he's back up here, and you see the 29. He'll jump down to the bottom, wants to be the man to lead him, come to the cross flags to complete 100 miles, 100 more to go as they come off turn number 4. Guys are trying to figure out which lane they want to go with. Outside's got more cars, bottom's more separative. At that time of the line, Howard's going to lead them here at the cross flags. They head back in the 1.
Perfect job for the Verizon machine of James Howard. He will lead at the cross flags. 100 miles in, 100 miles to go, and 40 laps now left in the race. McCoy now looking inside, down to the outside. Rickard will follow. Smith now battles Whitaker. A couple of gasoline cars going at it side by side, and here come the Interstate battery colors of Brian Chu now carrying the Sprite Man and Chu up the racetrack with Tatum into 3.
McCoy just jumped down to the bottom with Rickard there into turn number 3. That could have been really big. Had Rickard pulled out a line probably a little later than usual, McCoy probably would have jumped down, got himself turned in front of this whole field, but they thought in sequence and both jumped down together. They're now in front of Howard and at the top of the racetrack. That 28 machine of Whitaker leads them around 1 and 2 with the 89 of James Waldo back behind him and the old Morgan Shepherd machine as they come off turn number 2 rather. Ross Tatum back there behind them. He's the third one up on the top side now as they head back to 3.
Boy, Howard jumping out of the inside pack to go to the outside. Whitaker went with him, and man, he just kind of weaseled his way through there. Lap machine, the 54 up high, making everybody get to the bottom of the apron there as they put a lap down again on that 54 machine. Slow traffic of Hess. Meanwhile, second half of this race underway. We haven't done it in a while. Let's go extend it and feel the roar as they climb the banking, the virtual thundering herd of the Stars and Stripes Racing League here at Daytona. Down that back straightaway, no change in the lead. James Howard stays locked to the inside of that double yellow line. They're about to go 3 wide with Whitaker and Tatum trying to get something formed, Jason, as they work in the corner. And now James Waldo in a Toyota along with Brian Chu trying to affect the bow ties as they work their way off of turn 4.
I noticed right there, coming down the back straightaway, the 21 looked like he was going to get out of line, start a 3 wide movement, but he really quickly got back in line. Smart move by Ross Tatum there heading into turn number 3, because that was probably a scene that a lot of these guys didn't want to see at the moment. You saw a lot of jockeying heading towards the top of the safer barrier. Guys thinking, hey, we got to go to the top side now. This is where the momentum's going to be. And then everybody gets discombobulated in the mind, and you don't know where to go. Do you want to stay in the middle? Do you want to get put through the sucker hole? Do you want to jump up to the top and risk wrecking? You just don't know where to go. And that's one of the many things about plate racing that really makes it almost, Wesley, kind of like a chess match.
Trying to get all those pieces, those pawns in order. And to set everyone up for that one driver to get checkmate. And right now, 46 laps into it, just after halfway. And I'll tell you something else, Jason, since probably lap number 20, I believe, 50 miles in, we mentioned it, and we've now gone over, I don't know, another 30 laps or so here coming up. There has been cloud cover since that happened, and it has really changed, I believe, the complexion of the strategy and the handling on a lot of these cars in this race.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, with the cloud cover, obviously the track cools down. Let's take a look real quick here at the weather conditions, presented by Coffee Creative, just for a quick second here if we can, Charles. And you can see right there, track temperature still around the 90-degree mark right now. It's still lowered. The air temp's about the same. Wind speed hasn't changed since the start of this race, you know, about an hour or so ago now. So it's been really interesting to see the track temperature changing. Remember, at the start of this race, it was 100 degrees. We're all the way down to 89 here. And with this cloud cover, these guys are going to be able to make more aggressive moves, pull out of line without, you know, the air really being taken away from the rear end of the car, making them turn around and whatnot. So you're able to pull a lot more moves. But remember, this is Daytona. It's a little bit tighter, so you got to be careful with where you make your moves, especially if you're coming off these corners.
Kyle McCoy back to the lead again of the 07 machine. And that 7 car. Howard, Rickard, Smith, Whitaker, Tatum, Chu, Altus, Waldo, Buzzler. Remember the one? Remember Will Buzzler? The Jordan colors? He literally was about to get bonsai'd off of one car, went to the apron, shot the gap, came back, drove through the turf, kept from causing a crash. Jason, he is right back in the top 10 on the outside. There he is.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, Wesley, this might looking like a wreck right here. We're finally seeing some 3-wide racing up at the front of this field, and I tell you what, there is no more stressful feeling here at Daytona than riding around in one of these Xfinity Series cars, being put 3 wide in the middle, because you just have to keep a steady wheel. You have to maintain your throttle. You don't want to make sure that you're giving too much gas, closing up to the back bumper of the guy in front of you. Next thing you know, you give him a shot, gets turned around in front of this field. This is when it becomes stressful. You see right there, the number 20, Derek Offerman, nearly hitting the wall in that 2008 Tony Stewart throwback machine. Bounced off the wall, nearly hit Josh Whitaker in the 28 machine off turn number 2, but as they file back out down the Daytona's super stretch, still 3 by 3 by 3, many rows deep here as they head back to turn 4.
Man, look at that 29. James Howard, who led it halfway. Now he's mired in the back now in the top 10. He's in the 5th and 6th spot. And boy, they are getting aggressive now, getting unorganized and jumping out of line. 2 and 3 wide. Altus climbing the safer barrier. He's got the 1 in tow. That's the Buzzler entry. And all this goes on as we approach 50 laps into it, 30 to go at Daytona. They're off 2.
Yeah, now this field has kind of really settled back down. I think some of these guys probably didn't like that 3-wide race, and just at this time right now, because remember, Wesley, we still have another quarter and a half to go in this race, and once they hit lap 60, we'll have our final 4th quarter of this race. So these guys really got to take care of their cars. This is probably, I'd say, what would you say? It's probably the longest green flag run we've had so far here tonight. I'm sure that they want to keep it that way. They want to see, all of them and themselves, have green flag pit stops. They want to make sure that their strategies come into play, and they want to make sure that their race ends up the way they want it. Some guys want, oh, there we go. We got one more out of line.
Save it, guys. Save it, save it, save it, save it. They did. No, they're not.
No, they didn't.
It's bottom of the racetrack. He's out of harm's way. No caution yet. No caution. White Claw, number 11, spins to the apron on his own. That's Tom Ogle. And no caution, Jason. We stay green. And yes, to answer your question, they went back to green on lap 33.
Oh, no! Hard hit!
This got burned into the wall. Scott Record crashes. They get together. And now the caution will come out. And that will end almost a 20-lap green flag run just before halfway. Caution out on lap number 52. Wow.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I tell you what, for the number 11 machine right there of Tom Ogle, that's what you get for driving a machine with White Claw on the hood. That's for sure. That's icky. But heading back to turn number 3 here, you're going to see this 94. He's going to have a big run. He's going to try to get up in front of this 05 machine, and unfortunately just shoots a gap that's not there. And the 05 machine, one of the most dominant cars all night long. I know for a fact he's definitely got a faster pair, so he's going to be thankful for that, but that's not something that he wanted to use, and the same goes for the number 94 of Joshua Altice there, off 4.
Man, it looks like Altus just, he just tried to shoot the gap. He thought he had a run, and then he wasn't clear. Watch this, Altus, there's Howard, the 29, the bump to Rickard. Altus said, let me clear. He tried to get by McCoy, and then we got a hood flying into the crowd in turn number 4.
Final destination 5.
Everybody's on pit road, by the way. Here comes the cavalry on lap 53, and no doubt, Jason, they're all coming in. And this could possibly be the money stop if we don't get another late race caution, Jason.
Yeah, this is probably going to be the money stop right here, Wesley, with just under 30 laps to go. These guys can go about 35 laps on a tank of fuel, 40 at most, I would say. So you're going to see these guys coming to the pits right here. The 81 machine overshoots his box. Chris Smith, your leader, coming on the pit road. That's definitely going to hinder him from being the race leader off pit road. There's the number 1. Will Bustler's going to lead him this time off pit road. And the 81 machine loses about 3, almost 4 spots off pit road now as they all come thinning out back to turn 1 off pit road.
By the way, Howard overshot his pit box 2 in the Verizon number 29. And what a difference this makes. Will Bustler, one time he thought he comes side through the apron, and it's a Toyota. Will Bustler and Derek Offerman, the Toyotas, and that Home Depot car you're referring to now, 1 and 2. Here at Daytona, we will step away and get you ready for a 25-lap shootout in the Daytona 200 with the Stars and Stripes Racing League.
Looking to the inside of Turner, trying to make it 3 wide down the back straightaway, nearly does.
Last night the track was very slick. You know, we had 2 good grooves.
But anyway, just another some of that.
There's people in the stands. That means there's people watching.
25 laps to go when the field comes back around to the Geico restart zone. Welcome back Our names will be on the bottom. Welcome to our coverage of the Daytona 200. I am Wesley Outland. Joined alongside is Jason Rockefeller. Charles Wooten is our producer director, giving you the awesome, picturesque, virtual images of what's happening here. Charles, I got to bring you in here as we get ready to go back to green. How excited are you to begin a new relationship with the Stars and Stripes Racing League on your home for sim racing?
To be honest, it's a new league, but not the drivers, not so much. We know quite a few of them already. So
we have, yes, we have.
It's always good when you. It's like going to a new school. You go to a new school, but you happen to have one or two friends there, so it's not as awkward. You know them already,
right.
So it's always good when you come in and you know some of these guys.
By the way, don't forget, tomorrow night, I believe Jason and myself will be on the call for that one, the Friday night series for the FEGPC leagues and events. Of course, Damon Gilbert locked up the championship last night. Mr. McCullough, Brian McCullough, was able to beat an eNASCAR competitor of Michael Guest to win the finale in Talladega. They'll be racing again tomorrow. Airtime on LSRTV's Friday night, 10:30 Eastern Time, 9:30 Central, and we are ready to go next week for this series. And I believe the new Atlanta. We're ready to go back to green as well. And I'm understanding it's the old Atlanta. 25 to go. Let's see how it all shakes out for green. Is now Bustler. The air up there. The Jordan machine in the top spot. Tatum right there up on the outside. Here comes McCoy with a save earlier with Smith and Offerman. And there's that Howard car right back in the mix. Here comes Jackson now. Trey Jackson, first time we've seen his car in the feature. Also the 31 Jason. Ryan Lynch now back in the top 10 in the 3.
Yeah, Ryan Lynch, Derek Offerman, Trey Jackson, all these guys making up a significant amount of spots from where they started as they hit 3 wide off turn number 4. Oh boy, there we go. One car out of line, Ryan Lynch.
Welcome to the top 10. Goodbye from the top 10. And Lynch, just as fast as he was in the penthouse, he is pushed to the outhouse apron. And we now put Kyle McCoy in the lead of the number 7. Gets around Bustler. It's now Smith now battling for second as they work off 2.
Turn number 2, so the 81 trying to give that push to McCoy. Back down the back straightaway. Offerman jumps down low. He'll be the 4th car in line down the super stretch, heading for 3. And here's the 05, Scott Rickard, 3rd up on the top side, got involved in our last caution. He's back up there with the fast repair he took, trying to give a push to Ross Tatum, and also Will Bustler coming off turn number 4 this time.
Inside, McCoy protected that double yellow line to the bottom. Bustler, Smith, here comes now another machine. Tatum. You got Reichard and the drivers, of course, of Howard, where it all went south a moment ago with the last caution. Off of 2. Here comes now Bustler outside. Got some help there, Jason. And McCoy will protect and block on the bottom.
McCoy trying to just do all he can right now. He doesn't really, I don't think, want to jump up. But this front of this field really, we talk about how nothing has really happened up here for the leaders. We haven't seen any incidents besides the 05 and obviously the 94, I believe it was, earlier on, just on our last caution. But really, these guys have been really racing between cutting each other off, jumping out of line, switching lanes, whatever it may be. They're very racy up here at the front. There are no slouches here, so I expect for the one here of Will Bustler, he might jump down to the bottom, might stay with this 21 of Ross Tatum, and he will as they head back to 1 and 2. McCoy's going to get the arrow push from that 81 of Smith back off turn number 2 as they all file out down this back straightaway. It's a dead heat as they hit turn number 3 here in a moment.
When they come to the line, watching all of this unfold. Here comes now Bustler on that top. I think he learned his lesson about staying on the inside a little early as he got really pushed, bump drafted on the side to push to the apron. And look at him starting to get formed 3 by 3 behind the top 15 that are at least now 2 by 2, like Noah leading the virtual animals to the arc. Down into turn number 1. McCoy to the inside. Bustler on the outside. And somebody in a moment's going to try to go 3 wide and come flying like a hot dog right out of the bud. Jackson thought about it. So did Offerman. and then they back in and go 2 by 2.
I'll tell you what, whoever decides to be Noah might actually just lead him to the crash instead of to the yard, because they're really racy up here at the front of this field. The number 1, Will Bustler, gets that push from the 21 of Tatum back to turn number 3. Will they jump down? No, they will not. The 5 of Trey Jackson, he jumps up to the top side there in the Nationwide Dale Jr. colors. And it looks like this outside lane, Wesley, starting to get really, really formed up well here as they head back to the tri-oval. Lap 61 goes up on the board. 20 laps to go for the World Center Racing back to 1.
And 150 miles are completed. Working 60 completed, 20 to go, 50 miles remain in the Daytona 200 in memory of Linda Grattan. As here they go off of 2. McCoy on the bottom. Smith is there. Offerman there. Here comes the 46 of Kreitz. The 25 of Lynch. They stay to the inside. On the outside, Busler, Tatum, Reichert, Howard, Jackson, and now another driver, Lawson in the number 3 Ford. The only Ford battling into the top 15 as they come to the line out of 4.
Yeah, and there's William Duff too. He's also in a Ford, so only 2 Fords up here. Or really, actually 3 Fords now up inside this top 20. You know, Christian Lotion also there in the number 3, like you mentioned, Wesley. Back to 1 and 2 now. They're going to have to deal with a lap car here up on the top side. It is, I believe, possibly the number 94 as they come off turn number 2, back down the back straightaway here. And it looks like this number 1 going to get another great push from the 21 of Tatum back to turn number 3. Scott Rickard trying to find somewhere to go. 21 ducks out of line. He'll jump to the bottom. Put Ross Tatum to the top of the pylon here off 4.
There's an old saying in motorsports, virtual or reality. The first win the race, you must first finish. But also that question too is, Jason, when is it time to go and when is it not time to go? When do you push the button? When do you put the aggressive limiter to maximum overload and put yourself in contention to win? The point I'm trying to make, bud, is like I said earlier, when is it time to go for checkmate on your other competition and go to the win line?
Well, really, Wesley, like I mentioned earlier, it's all a game of chess. So, I mean, you really have to plan out the rest of this race here, the next 17 laps that are about to come under your belt. Really, as the race just progresses, if you're one of these guys up in the front, you want to make sure that you're the leader at all times. But, you know, really, I want to say around 10 laps to go, that's when you're going to start to see guys get dicey. You can't make your move with 2 laps to go and try to be a superhero because you just can't. You're going to create a wreck. And with the way that the racing is nowadays with the double file and whatnot, you just can't get up to the front. If you're one of those guys in the back, you have to make your moves now, or you just better stick around and wait for the big one to happen and see if you can get through unscathed.
2 by 2 by 2 by 2. Somewhere in there, they're trying to go 3 wide, but here comes now Tatum getting around the Iowa State Chevrolet of McCoy. And now the Jordan Colors Uno machine. Busler up on the outside. Rickard's up there as well. So is Howard. Amongst that mistake that happened, Jason, with Altus between those other 2 cars of the 29 and the 05, I still noticed that they're like wingmen. They're right there with one another. Even though there was the incident that took place, they are still hanging with each other with now 16 to go back into 1.
Yeah, there's been a couple guys, too, that have really stuck around each other here all night long. But, you know, that's the thing. If you have a wingman really by your side at these super speedway races, obviously Daytona, Talladega, and the new Atlanta, I mean, that is your best friend here, especially late in the going, because you know you can have somebody to trust. But remember, once the gloves are off, there's no more such thing as teammates. They're going to try to help you the best they can, but remember, they're fighting for their own races here. So you got to be careful, pick and choose your friends wisely, and make sure to help them because they might be there at the end of this race to try to help you as well.
15 laps to go in the Daytona 200. Looking inside, looking outside, Offerman, the Home Depot colors under the Sunoco machine. And that driver of Smith, he's got a full truckload of the leader of Tatum in front of him in the 21 Sprite color. McCoy down to the outside. He gets a punt and a push from Musselman. And that push That tandem allows the 7 to go to the lead to the outside. Here comes now Ricker and also Howard, and they're right there staying 2 by 2 at full song at the line out of 4.
Tell you what, Wesley, if you're one of the... Oh, contact between the 20. Oh, that could have been really close right there. That was nearly a wreck. The 20 got loose on the inside, got up into Scott Ricker. That's the 20 of Offerman off turn number 4. And I was just about to say, if you're one of those guys outside those first 4 to 5 rows, you better try to make it 3 wide now, or else you're never going to get to this front unless there's a caution you can get through unscathed.
Here's the luck that the 20 of Offerman had. That 81 of Smith had got right up on the back end of the 21 of Tatum. If he had not, and he didn't have room, there would have been a crash after he bonsai'd off the side of the 805 of Reichert's car. That's the only reason we're not under caution right now with that number 20 of Offerman, and they're going to reset again. This virtual test of man and machine, endurance, stability, continues on now. 13 laps to go. You want to talk about it being mentally draining? One wrong slip, one wrong error, and you've got calamity. That's what a lot of people love about super speedway racing at Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta. Down the back straightaway. And looking behind them, Jason, 3 wide. Here comes Ray. Oh, Howard. Howard going after Rickard. He's going after Bosworth, 3 wide. And McCoy's hung out to dry. You can't block them all.
Perfect driver to jump up to the top side and lead that 3rd lane up at the top. He's got help from Christian Lotion as well as other drivers back behind him. That 3rd car up on the very top side, 1 lap down there. But that is just one more part added to the pile that you can use back to the line. 12 laps to go, going up on the board, 3 wide, trying to get 2 wide. It's getting tight. Will Bustler trying to figure out who to block. He'll go to the middle. Here comes the 29. James Howard trying to get the push here as they come off 2.
And there they are. Maybe a lap or 2 prematurely as you thought, Jason, but they've hit that go button. Lap traffic on the inside, the 13 of Fish. Hessen, the 53, says, have at it, boys. Go at it, and they are. Inside McCoy, Bustler in the middle, Howard from the halfway winner down to the outside lane, and that outside lane goes out of nowhere and now ends up 2 by 2 again. And now they try to get back in form. 11 to go. Offerman just a little slip. He goes back into the middle lane, and they got to get form now 3 by 3 up the bank and into 1.
These guys are getting really squirrely, Wesley, off turn number 2, but especially off turn number 4, I'm noticing. So these guys really got to be careful at where they make their moves and who they make their moves on, because one slip and it's all over here for the Daytona 200. This 05 Scott Rickard back up on the outside lane, trying to give the push to Bustler. Back to turn number 3. He's got the 29 of Howard back behind him once more. And Wesley, I think if there's going to be a move for the race lead that's going to come between 2 guys, it's going to be between Rickard and Howard. They have stayed together pretty much all night long for a majority of this race. They're really strong together, and right now they're nose to tail back to the line. 10 laps to go from the World Center of Racing.
25 miles remain. It's now, jumping the apron, hold on to it. McCoy climbs up the bank, and he's good, but he lost ground on the pack, and now he's got to reset again. And now Hustler is going to lead the song and dance. Less than 25 miles to go. It's on like Donkey Kong here in virtual Daytona, and there's no friends now. Everyone for themselves as they come to the line. 9 laps to go. Tatum on the bottom, Bustler in the middle. Can Howard get back up there again to make it 3 wide? No. Here comes the Camel car to try to do so as they go into 1.
I was just going to say, Aaron Hale trying to make something work up at the top of the racetrack in the Camel Cigarettes machine. Back to turn number 1. He's got no help on the top side of this racetrack. Nearly a wreck between him and the 29 of Howard out of the tri-oval, but they all maintain cool, calm, and collective. Off turn number 2, back down the super strips, the 21 of Tatum. He's got good help behind him from the 81 of Smith and the 5 of Jackson. Back to turn number 3. Here comes the 31, trying to lead them around. Remember, that 31 machine one lap down. So he's trying to lead that cavalry all the way up at the top of this racetrack. Try to see, oh, and there goes the 5, Jackson.
I did not want to wreck, but he did. And look,
might be
how
yellow.
everybody trying to split through him as he's off the pace. The 5 machine trying to get rolling. There's no caution yet. Jackson, the nationwide colors. And we stay green. 8 to go. Tatum now the new leader, but not for long. Puzzler got him to the outside. And look at Rickard and Howard. Tighter than a lid on a pickle jar. And they hold on to like peas and carrots on the outside. Look at this, 3 wide. Here comes Lynch. That's a lap machine in this battle. That's the cookout car. He is multiple laps down.
There we go.
Trouble around goes the 3. Lotion is around. So is also other cars. And the caution is out with 7 to go. Look out. Oh, man. That lap machine was in the way, and that kind of caused all this calamity, Jason. My goodness. Watch the 31. There's the Lynch car, by the way, that, as I mentioned, multiple laps down, and he had been right there in that order, causing right here. Look at this. Oh, my, Jason got right to the right rear of the 3 of Lotion, and around he goes.
Yeah, but you know something, though, too? It's not really the 31's fault all that much, because the 3 car, if you watch it again here, if we can take a look back at the replay one more time coming off car number 4, you're going to notice the 3 car kind of not necessarily jump out of line on purpose, but he gets a little loose, and the car kind of comes up the racetrack, starts to travel, and the 31's coming down, trying to make sure that he can hold his ground in that middle line, trying to make something work, help out some of his buddies maybe, and unfortunately these two are going to come together right here. And the 31 obviously is just racing his own race, wants to get back on the lead lap, doesn't want to play a factor. Right here, the 3 car going to come up the racetrack and unfortunately just comes right into the path of the 31 while he's coming down. Unfortunately, that's what happens here at Daytona.
6 laps to go. Let's look at it on a replay. I'm understanding nobody is pitting. You made your bed, you lie in it. This is what you got. Here's a look at it one more time. This is on board with Victor Classic in the 27 machine. This is understanding what a save he made. Maybe the save of the night here in the Daytona 200. Already off turn 4. Look at this.
Oh, wow. My gosh.
Boy, oh boy.
Nice driving.
Yes, sir.
Nice driving, Victor.
Car spinning across the track. The rule is you go straight for it, so I never took my foot off the gas. You can drive through it. I know it. I know it in my heart. And he did it.
Through it.
That's right. I'm out of here. Oh, the Daytona 200 with the Stars and Stripes Racing League is presented by Butt Kicker. The Next Level Racing. The On the Throttle podcast on all major podcast outlets and providers. And finally, Verizon. We're approaching the final 10 miles left of this one. Jason, remember, there's a chance at overtime if need be.
Yeah, there is a chance at overtime, but with obviously this being a super speedway, only one attempt at an overtime if need be. So these guys have to make sure that they don't wreck if we do attempt to go into overtime. Remember, the caution comes out with 2 laps to go, because we're probably going to get back racing before, over-regulation with the laps and time and so forth. So if they have a caution with 2 laps to go before they hit the white flag, folks, we'll have another yellow. They will re-rack it, restack it, we'll go into what is known as now overtime. But for old folks like us, green, white, checkered finish, restart, take the green flag, come to the white flag, next time around, checkered flag. If the caution comes out on that green, white, checkered with 2 laps to go, race is over, and whoever was leading at the time of caution will be the race winner. Wesley, they're doubling up right here, so we're going to get back going with 4 laps to go. So, boys, if you're going to wreck, wreck with 4, 3, or 2. Just make sure you don't wreck coming to that white.
It'll be exactly 10 miles remaining when they come back to the line. Ross Tatum, Will Bustler, Scott Reichert, Chris Smith, Josh Whitaker, your top 5. James Howard, Diego Valley, Derek Offerman, Brian Lynch, Kyle Bowling, top 10. And anybody has got a shot to win this one. And obviously, as I've said, keep an eye on Scott Rickard and James Howard. They're separated by a couple of spots. They've got to get hooked up together in tandem. And Jason, remember, if they take the white flag, they'll race back to the checker. Next flag ends the race. If not, we will go to overtime, and we'll see what happens real quickly. Let's take a look at the race summary leading up to 4 laps to go at the restart. 34 lead changes, 5 cautions for 13 laps in the Daytona 200 for the Stars and Stripes Racing League. Presented by Virginia811.com. All right. Jason, we've been through too many of these, haven't we?
I think we've been through one too many, my friend. I think we all know how this ends, and hopefully it ends on the good side of things and not cars piling up, cars sprinting out of control, and cars up in the fence and whatnot. So we're about to find out. 4 laps to go.
Pace cars in. Field through the Geico restart zone, and back to green we go in Daytona. 10 miles left. 4 laps to go. Tatum, Bustler, door to door. You've got Smith and Rickard now. Howard stuck on the outside lane, and he can't get to the bottom as you've got Howard being blocked by the machine of Whitaker on the inside as they work off 2.
And down the back straightaway, it's about a 6-car, almost 7 breakaway back down the Daytona Superstretch heading for 3. But here comes the pack closing in on them very, very quickly. Back to 3 and 4. The 88 of Timmy McNally trying to lead that outside group back to the 29's back bumper. Off turn number 4 they go. This time by the line, going to be 3 laps to go. And boys, it is go time. If you have a car that can win, you better show them now. 3 laps to go from the World Center of Racing.
A little push, a little shove. A moment ago, they got unorganized, and then they quickly fan back out 2 by 2. 3 wide behind them. There's a storm brewing behind the top 10. Look at him off the corner. Tatum now. Ross Tatum inside. He's the leader of the Sprite car. Rickard on the bottom. Whitaker will follow. Now Howard hooks up with Smith. Smith hooks up with now Bustler to the lead as they work into 3.
Coming to 2 laps to go, the 81, Chris Smith trying to give that push to Bustler. Oh, we got cars out of control. Will they save it? No yellow. And there we go. We're going to go in overtime.
Crash.
Oh, massive
Hess
crash.
is involved. So is Jackson again. Lynch just got away from it. And we will inevitably go to overtime here now in the Daytona 200 to open up the season at the World Center of Racing. Here's a look at the replay of what happened here. A lot of drivers in the back of the pack. Let's see what happened, Jason. Howard kind of started it, and then it made everybody check up from there as the 89 got into Jackson, and then Hess and others.
Wow. Yeah, there's not really much to really say about that one. It all just started with guys trying to be really aggressive, and nobody's really at fault besides the guys trying to be aggressive, and there was just one too many right there. Started to stack up, everybody trying to get on the binders like you usually say, Wesley, and unfortunately you can't all fit 5 cars into the same corner, because you can go 3, you can't really go 4, but you definitely can't go 5, and that's what we saw heading for 3.
As I always say in calling super speedway racing, 3's a company, 4's a crowd, 5 is chaos.
Words to live by, Wesley Outland. I'm going to get that on my graduation yearbook.
James Waldo, again, getting turned there. It all started when Howard checked up. Overtime. Welcome again. If you're joining us, thanks for having a hit that like and follow Facebook and in YouTube at LSRTV. We'll be broadcasting here next Thursday night as well from the Old Atlanta. Jason, Old Atlanta, not Super Speedway Atlanta, but Old Atlanta.
Yeah, and it's always nice to go back to those tracks that, we can't really go to anymore, obviously. I mean, just because, obviously they reconfigured the track. It's now a 1.5 mile super speedway style. But thanks to the folks over at iRacing, we have that, scan. We can always go back, and whenever we want, we can go and race at tracks. And that's the great thing, And I know we've said this multiple times, but that's how a lot of, these racetracks really get preserved. They get taken down, and, you get to race them here on the simulator, and that's one of the best things about it. You think about North Wilkesboro Speedway. That all started with Dale Jr. and all of them over at iRacing. Got together back in, I believe it was 2019, tore up all the weeds over at North Wilkesboro Speedway. iRacing did a laser scan of the racetrack. They scanned it. They put it in the sim. But before they ever put it in the sim, remember during COVID, they ran the iRacing Invitational Series there. And they let some of those Cup, Xfinity, and Truck guys go at it with the Gen 6 cars. And then they put on iRacing. Next thing you know, they said, hey, this track's still pretty raceable. Maybe we should try and get it back going. North Carolina State funds got put into it. Next thing you know, North Wilkesboro Speedway's back, baby.
Yep. Had the privilege to be on the broadcast call for Racing America whenever they had the racetrack revival. And really something I'll never forget. Never forget for sure. All right. And obviously, now they repaved the North Wilkesboro Speedway. Yep. They're doing that during the off season now. So, all right, here we go. Nobody is pitting. Everybody is committed. You're coming to the line now, and you've got the white. The lights are going to go off for the pace car, and we are going to one attempt at overtime only. This is it. One time. That's all you get. I think the smart thing, Jason, here is you want to get to the CRN one to go. You want to get to the white flag lap at least. That way you can try to race to the finish.
Yeah, and there will not be a caution thrown on the white flag like your traditional style racing in NASCAR. These guys will race back to the checkered flag once given that opportunity at the white flag. But if we have a caution with 2 laps to go before these guys do take that white flag, race is over, field is frozen. Whoever's the leader at the time of caution, if they maintain pace speed, will be the race winner. We're going to find out. And Wesley, I want to just say right here, if I'm going to have to put in a prediction, I'm just looking at this field right here, this top 10, trying to pick one out of a hat. But it's so hard. It really is so hard to go against Scott Rickard. And that number 05 machine's been so strong all night long, right up there in the mix. But really, if I had to pick probably a dark horse out of this, Aaron Hale in that number 4, he tried to be really gutsy, trying to pull these guys 3 wide to the outside many laps before we got into the single digits remaining in this race. Yeah. And I think if there's somebody who could probably do something with that outside lane, maybe gets a good start, gets a good push, I think Aaron Hale could be a really big factor there in that Camel machine, 5th in line up on the top side. He'll be restarting 10th, coming to 2 to go.
Got the Mr. Excitement Jimmy Spencer throwback colors of the number 4, with Jimmy Spencer drove the number 23. Also, Hutch Strickland one time drove the Camel car as well. All right. Now, I'm going to tell you who I'm going to go with. You mentioned Rickard. I'm going to go with Howard. They've been right there with one another, monkey see, monkey do. And I think if James Howard, the man that led it halfway, can get a good push, he could be the guy to get it done. Timmy McNally up there along with Brian Lynch again. Overtime in the Daytona 200. Green flag is out. Let's settle it here at the Virtual World Center of Racing. And the Thundering Herd climbed the banking down into turn number 1 with their kaleidoscope of colors. Tatum on the outside. Rickard is there. Bustler on the bottom, and so is Smith, but they're pulling away from Howard off 2.
And you saw Howard, he jumped right up on the bottom, up to the top side to be with Scott Rickard, this time off turn number 2. That is a very, very deadly trio to be leading up on the top side. They've been the three strongest cars all night. Will Bustler trying to lead them back to turn number 3 with the bottom side, but Rickard gives one heck of a push to the 21 machine this time by. Off turn number 4, they're going to be looking for the white flag. Will they get there? Looks like they might. 1 lap to go. Ross Tatum, Will Bustler lead them back to the line.
Lynch thought about going 3 wide. He couldn't get it formed. We're back to the line. The CRN1 to go. More details at wearecrn.com. Final time into turn number 1. It's Bustler and Tatum for the Daytona 200, and they're going 3 wide behind him off the corner. Final time out of 2.
If you're one of those guys back behind the 05 or the 81, you got to pull out a line now. You see them trying to wreck back there in the back of the pack. Still side by side for the race lead. Back to turn number 3. Ross Tatum, Will Bustler. Who's going to get the better push? They're wrecking behind them. Up into the checkered flag off turn number 4. Big crash in the mirror.
A massive crash, and this opens it down to 7 drivers. Here comes Rickard on the outside. He can't reel in Tatum. Here comes Will Bustler. Toyota will get a win as Rickard's in the fence. Checkered flag, and Will Bustler will win the Daytona 200 here tonight. From the bottom of the apron at one time, thought he was crashed out. Battles back. Toyota Supra number 1 Uno car is the Uno here in Daytona.
Wow, what a finish. What a massive wreck coming into turn 3. Took out about 3/4 of the field. And really, Wesley, what won Will Bustler this race was when Scott Rickard pulled out a line out from Ross Tatum. He could have given him a big enough push to get to the checkered flag, but with him pulling out a line, that inside line had 3 cars lined up, and they were able to push Will Bustler. He still had a car on the outside of him by the time they hit the tri-oval. No time for Chris Smith or Ross Tatum to react, and that's what got Will Bustler this win here tonight in the Jordan Brand car.
There's the driver and the Jordan, the Michael Jordan. Number 1, in my opinion, Michael Jordan is the GOAT of basketball. LeBron who? Look at that. Will Bustler will burn it down below the flag stand in the Jordan car. Let the celebration begin. And he is the winner of round 1, Jason, in the Stars and Stripes Racing League here in the Daytona 200 in memory of Linda Gratton. Let's take a look at the results. It's Will Bustler getting it done. Christopher Smith is 2nd. Ross Tatum 3rd. Ellis Thomas 4th. James Howard 5th. Rickard Schrader, Duff, Kreitz, and Lynch right now your top 10. By the way, 7 drivers crossed the line. There was that big wreck there at the end. That's what made such a difference in the interval there, Jason, in the top 10.
Yeah, and then back down to the top 20, Diego Valle there in the 68 machine. You have Timmy McAnally in the 88 machine, Dylan Hoffman, Joshua Altice, who was strong earlier in the beginning, Kyle Bowling. You have Waldo, McMeekin, Thomas, McCoy, and Mitch Smith round out your top 20 there in that number 92 machine.
Well, what might have been for Christian Loschin, he was right there at the end. Jason Gratton as well. Aaron Hell, Joshua Robinson, Josh Whitaker up in the front early. Derek Offerman as well in the Lowe's in the Home Depot colors. Top 25, and Nate Lynch, Brian Chu, Thomas Ogle, Victor Classy. All these drivers at a time or two up into the top 10, your top 30.
Yeah, and rest of the field, multiple laps down. You have Tom Wizza, Ryan Lynch, Trey Jackson, Mark Fish, Mike Lynch, Andrew Hess, Zachary Smith, Robert Sherwood, Greg Hammond comes home in the 66 machine, P39. That is your unofficial race results here tonight from Daytona.
And for the final time tonight, we'll take a look at the race summary. There it is, almost close to 40 lead changes, 37 in total, 6 cautions, 18 laps, and yes, there was 1 attempt at overtime here in the Daytona 200. Race summary is always brought to you by Virginia811.com, reminding you to dig with care. Charles, one thing, I want to see the weather conditions real fast. I know the race is over. I just want to see what the changes were in the period of a 200-mile event presented by Kaufman Creative. Let's see how much it changed when this race went from start to finish. In the Kaufman creative weather conditions, if we could possibly see it up there. I'm getting Celsius information, but anyhow, we are going to grab the podium, whoever's available. Will Bustler, Chris Smith, Ross Tatum. And we'll be back with more from Daytona here in just a moment. What an exciting event of the Stars and Stripes Racing League. The Daytona 200 and Will Bustler winning in that Toyota at the end in overtime. Welcome back to the Daytona 200, round number 1 of the Stars and Stripes Racing League on your home for sim racing. Every Thursday night. We'll be in Atlanta next week. I'm Wesley Outland, of course. Jason Rockefeller, awesome job. We grab the podium now. Ross Tatum, a driver we've known over the years in many races, and Ross, a good solid podium here. What a crazy run here at Daytona. Typical super speedway race, am I right?
Yeah, typical super speedway race, but what a good time, man. It was a lot of fun tonight. I'm glad to have you guys at LSRTV back tonight. It's a long time since I heard your voice, so yeah, just all in all, a great night, great win by Will. So good solid points day for our team.
And Ross, congratulations on finishing up on the podium in third tonight, man. But right there coming off turn number 4, obviously everybody started to jump, kind of really jumble around, try to figure out what they wanted to do to try to chase after Will there coming off turn number 4, man. What more could you have done, or what more could you have needed to try to get the win right there at the end?
Basically, I just needed Scott behind me, but Scott got shuffled around, so I lost my drafting help. But honestly, man, I was rooting for Will. Will's had a tough couple seasons in this league, so see him come out on top tonight was a really big deal. And yeah, I mean, it was just, this league, I think you guys will see it this season, man. This league is a lot of clean racing, a lot of green flag runs, so just another solid race by this league tonight.
I was going to say, Ross, definitely we didn't see anything that looked like it was malicious or just, frustration wrecking anybody. Just good, hard racing out there. And obviously that's got to be good to know that there's a lot of guys around you that you know that you can be able to race them hard, and they're going to race you hard, and you ain't got to worry about being crashed out intentionally.
Yeah, absolutely. This league is probably the cleanest, best league I've ever been a part of. These guys race hard, but they race clean. I think we had probably 7 or 8 caution-free races the last 2 seasons, or maybe even just last season. So I cannot thank everyone in the league enough just for just how good they race. I mean, it makes it a lot of fun to show up each and every week.
Go ahead and thank your sponsors.
Appreciate it, guys. I got to thank
over. What a crazy race. Obviously, you get into overtime, and you got to do whatever you can to shuffle, shake, rattle, and roll to be there at the end. Man, what a crazy race that was. Your take of surviving here.
Yeah, it was crazy from the green flag to the checkered flag. My teammates, Ellis Thomas and Paul Thomas, we were talking about if we wanted to ride in the back or race, and thought, well, we can just ride in the back and wreck in the back, or we can try to race up front and wreck up front. And so we decided we were going to try to race up front all night, and it was a lot of fun. It's my first night with everybody out here in Stars and Stripes, and seems like a really good, clean league, and happy to be a part of it. Want to give a special shout out to Nate Lynch for working with me and getting me in here at the last minute.
Yeah, and Chris, obviously, congratulations, man, on finishing P2, but obviously coming off turn number 4 there, like I asked Will right there, man, or not Will, rather, but Ross, what more could you have done if you would have been just you guys out there, nobody side by side? You think you could have done something right there, getting out of line, trying to side draft come to line?
Well, I was hoping maybe that we could clear the top lane coming off too, but we didn't, and from that point on, I was behind Will, and I was going to try to do everything I could to push him to the win, because I made a really bad mistake earlier in the race and got loose. Real big bonehead move on my part, and sent him spinning. I'm glad he was able to recover and pick up the win if I couldn't get it. So happy to see him get the win. And I was just looking at his bumper from turn 4 of the checkered flag.
Chris, what's going to be different from this week, obviously, from Daytona, super speedway racing, and now you got to kind of adapt to what they call always the new schedule when you go back to the intermediate track like the old Atlanta next Thursday night?
I'm really looking forward to it. It's a complete 180. I feel like this is definitely not my strong suit at all. I much prefer racing on the more conventional style tracks, the downforce track. So, you got to readjust. The old Atlanta surface is awesome. That track is great. Multiple lanes possibly. And I feel like this is a track that can really show off your driving skills. So I'm looking forward to getting out there next week.
Sponsors, bud, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I want to give a special shout out to Hank Thomas Performance. They're a Sunoco dealer in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. They deal in race fuels to all kinds of race teams in the area. I want to give a special shout out to them. Apex Energy, my teammates, Ellis, Paul Thomas, Slingshot Racing. I want to thank them for their help tonight. Give a special shout out to you guys, LSRTV. I'm looking forward to going back and watching the broadcast, and Verizon for sponsoring the series, and all the admins for their work and getting everything ready this season. Really looking forward to being part of Stars and Stripes this year.
There you go. There's Chris Smith, and that's Sunoco number 81. And obviously, if you did not know, Sunoco is the official fuel of NASCAR. And what a beautiful looking race car that is, in that yellow-blue number 81 of the second place position. Will Bustler driving the Jordan number 1 Toyota, where Chevrolet seemed to dominate this event. At one point right before the 3/4 of the race, Will Bustler pushed out of line, got dropped to the bottom of the apron, had to drive in the turf, had to miss getting bonsai'd on the side draft, and what do you know, he rallied back through the field to get the win. Will, congratulations, man of the Daytona 200. Good job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That was a wild ride. I'm glad I was able to recover. I knew once I was able to get back out there, I'd have a shot at this thing. So I'm glad it worked out the way it did.
And Will, congratulations, buddy, on the win here tonight at Daytona. And Ross was mentioning earlier, just a few moments ago, he said that you had a really tough last couple seasons, obviously. How does it feel, and what does it mean to come here, start of a new season, season 8 here in 2024, come out right off the bat with a win at the World Center of Racing? How do you feel like not only will this really set up your season, but how do you think it's going to make you really, project yourself going forward here for the regular season?
Oh, I think it's huge. The last couple of seasons have been really tough, really frustrating. I knew I could compete. Just some bonehead mistakes by myself, just inexperience, unfortunately, kind of bit me a couple times. So it's huge, though. It's great to get this one taken care of, so I can really focus on being competitive the rest of the season. I feel like these cars suit my driving style versus the prior couple seasons. So I'm excited. I really think that I can put together a strong season, compete, and that's really all I'm looking for.
Will, what's it like to obviously, trying to rally to win, and then you kind of get pushed, side drafted, you're in the apron, you're slamming the inside safer barrier, you're like, oh man, you think it all's done and all's lost, right? And then all of a sudden you just push and persevere, or do you just get that opportunity, thank goodness for that fast repair reset, and Honestly, would you say that was a big saving grace for you winning this event tonight?
Yeah, unfortunately, the fast repair was my saving grace. Without it, I was so underpowered once I got it straight again. So luckily it was there. And I heard Chris's apology, and I told him it's not a big deal. It happens. It's Daytona, so it's expected. The littlest mistake can really hurt somebody's race, but I really appreciate him there at the end, just kind of sticking with me, and the way that it worked out. It feels good.
Well, Bud, congratulations. Before we let you go, thank your sponsors.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys for coming on this season. It should be a blast. Like Ross said, this is a great league to be a part of. Really clean racing. So welcome. We hope you guys enjoy. Thank first and foremost my wife. She puts up with my crazy iRacing schedule. So shout out to Heather. She's the best. Thank my teammates, Ross, always, Josh Altice, Rob Sherwood, everybody for watching. We appreciate you guys taking the time out of your night to watch us here. Got to thank the sponsors, Verizon, On the Throttle Podcast, Butt Kicker, Next Level Racing, and of course LSRTV. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great season just as much as we do.
There you go. Will Bustler, winner of round number 1 here tonight, when it's all said and done of the Daytona 200. Hey, real quickly, before we give our final thoughts in closing, let's thank our sponsors for the Stars and Stripes Racing League on your home for sim racing. Once again, thanks to Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker, of course, jumping on board as a sponsor. Thank you also to coverage of this event being brought to you by Next Level Racing. Also, thanks to the On the Throttle podcast, available in all podcast platforms worldwide. And finally, Verizon. Jason, fun time in Daytona and the Daytona 200 in memory of Linda Gratton, and obviously our thoughts and prayers with the Gratton family. And Jason, I guess we'll sum it up and call it a night. And again, in closing, Will Bustler, right place, right time. And obviously now I think the regular points championship runs begin, because Super Speedway is a totally different animal in itself. We've said that several times. We'll see what happens next Thursday night at Atlanta. Always fun working with you, my friend.
Yeah, great race tonight for sure, Wesley. These guys put on one hell of a show for us up here in the booth for the first race for us for the Stars and Stripes Racing League. Good job to our top 3 finishers. Good job to really everybody. And obviously thank you to all the sponsors that helped out with the league and whatnot. And obviously Charles pushing all the buttons and me and you up here. It's been a blast, obviously, to call the first race. I'm really excited for the second one, man, because Atlanta is a whole different animal. Those tires, man. That surface, the old Atlanta surface, is like a cheese grater to those Goodyear Eagles. Boy, it's going to be a fun one next week for sure.
Going to be definitely an exciting time. As always, you can follow us at LSRTV, your home for sim racing, on Facebook and YouTube. Hit that like, subscribe. We're also available on X and Instagram, as well as great thank you to everybody at the Stars and Stripes Racing League. We look forward to this new era on your home for sim racing. For everybody at Rocket Racing Media, for Jeff Stabnow, and of course Charles Rutten, producer-director, for Jason Rockefeller, this is Wesley Outland. Congratulations to Will Bustler, winner of the Daytona 200. We'll see you next Thursday night at Atlanta Motor Speedway as the race for the championship for Xfinity on iRacing continues in the Stars and Stripes Racing League. Be good to one another. Enjoy the rest of your week, and thank you for watching.